Welcome back to Week 10 recap of the NFL with Rust Belt Sports. Glad to have you again,
Goodness.
as usual.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Can't wait to talk some ball.
Oh, going to be a lot of talking today.
Yep.
So let's recap. We went over the Browns-Ravens game.
Yep.
Went over all that great game.
Yep.
And today we're going to go over pretty much the rest of the NFL. And at the end, have a little segment, top 5, top 10 conversations for different awards and everything like that. See where that goes.
All right. Well, I think we should start the conversation off by keeping it in Ohio.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Bengals-Texans game.
Bengals-Texans. I pull up the stat lines here real quick. That way we...
Right. What another just outstanding game by C.J. Stroud. Another last-minute game-winning drive by C.J. Stroud. You know what? He is cementing himself to being one of the most clutch QBs in the league.
I can't not agree with that statement.
Where he is for where people thought he was going to be. You know, the QB test where he didn't score well on, people didn't think he was going to do well in the league because usually when they don't score well on the test.
Well, you're missing a key part. He's an Ohio State quarterback.
He is an Ohio State quarterback.
Which tends to not go
That doesn't go too well, but honestly, it's just like he says. He's not a good test taker. He plays football. And you know what? Truer statement could never be said about the kid. He's going out and he is playing each game, each minute.
He's not playing. He's almost dominating.
I was about to say he is taking control of every single game. It's more of what does CJ Stroud do and how do we rebuttal it more than it is CJ Stroud going out there and trying to win with his team.
Fun thing to go with that.
Okay.
Besides the Bengals game, this is one of those shocking games for me. The Texans haven't had a run game all year.
No, they have not.
They have not had a run game. David Singletary hasn't been anything
until this last game. Until this last game where he popped up out of nowhere.
The Bengals' run defense made the worst running team in football look like the best running team.
Absolutely, and it was very shocking because after last season, after what Dameon Pierce did with an explosive season, that signing of that running back. I remember us sitting here being like, why would the Texans do that? They have their guy. Why not just
great?
Pierce was absolutely great. Why not just sign another somebody off undefined post-free agency?
Apparently they knew something.
They knew something. And
I think they knew that their offensive line was trash.
Absolutely.
At the time, for running, at least.
Yeah, you know what? They did get Shaq Mason off the Bucs, which was a shocking acquisition because Shaq Mason has been nothing but fantastic on the Buccaneers' offense at right guard. But you know what? That pickup, along with Laramie Tunsil being an anchor on that O-line.
You can't go wrong.
You know what? Even though they haven't had a run game, at this point, Captain Hindsight, Monday morning quarterback, it was only a matter of time before something like this happened.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't go the whole season without running.
No.
At some point, you're going to have a game. Singletary had it. Bengals' run defense hasn't been good in general, so it's not like they're going out against the best run defense in the league.
But you know what? Over these past 2 years, the Bengals' defense has shocked everybody with how well it's come together. And you know what? For Singletary to have a game like this against them, again, shocking. The Bengals have been struggling all year. They've been kind of getting back into their groove. But, oh, my God, Singletary came out and really, really exposed them.
Yeah, really did. And now, let me throw a question out to you.
All right, let me hear it.
If I were to present you with two quarterbacks, one being the traditional guy of the team, kind of the leader of a team, would take you to a Super Bowl, conference championship, possibly. Almost MVP level play, or a rookie QB, who didn't even get picked first overall. He got selected second overall.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you think would have more passing yards on the year?
You know what? I think anybody in their right mind would say that leader, that QB, that traditional QB.
The guy who's been in the league for a few years,
the guy that takes you deep into the playoffs. Absolutely.
But it's not. It's CJ Stroud.
It's CJ Stroud. And it's so shocking. It's shocking to hear that when you hear that Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Irv Smith Jr.,
got some elite targets.
And then you look at CJ Stroud and he has Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Noah Brown,
not this
Dalton Schultz,
any of those guys.
Not the beat. Again, obviously fantastic wide receivers because they're having the years they're having. Tank Dell is second on the team behind Andre Johnson for rookie receiving yards, third being Dustin Hopkins.
Tank Dell and Nico Collins are could be an elite wide receiver.
They are elite. They are elite right now.
They're elite right now. I mean, I'm not saying they're not, but what I'm saying is they could be that team we look at next year, and you have Noah Brown in there.
Yes, you do.
John
Mechie
is there too. If he can get it going, you could arguably look at that team as a top wide receiver.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
And then Dalton Schultz has been great too.
Which is shocking because right now I think their output is greater than DK, Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jiba. It's greater than Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd.
Seahawks have their own issues in the
Well, they have their own issues, but I'm saying on paper.
Oh yeah.
You look at those two teams, you look at their names.
Oh no,
and you go, oh, the Texans with a rookie QB, and they're going to take those individual. Like Tank Dell wasn't even. I don't even think he was a top 3 round pick, was he?
I can't remember personally because I didn't even hear about Tank Dell.
No, absolutely not. Especially because he went to a small school, and I believe he went to a smaller school. Not in Alabama, not at Clemson, not in O State is what I mean.
Who did Tank Dell go to school for?
Yeah.
So while he's looking that up, my thing that amazes me here is the Houston Texans came into this getting C.J. Stroud, which most people said that wasn't the best choice. Obviously, Bryce Young, everyone thought was the best choice.
Absolutely. Heisman winner.
We'll talk about that too.
Yeah. Oh,
to me, they went out there and you saw the second game. They tried to pass run.
Yep.
They tried playing a normal offensive style. And then finally, something just awoke and said, just let the guy throw 40 times.
Just let him throw.
Let
because
him be that guy.
He has a beautiful air ball.
Yeah.
He does.
He's been great.
He's been absolutely.
Houston has shocked me.
Crazy good.
They're sitting at, 5-4, I believe.
Especially after getting a new head coach this year, too. Yeah. A new head coach. A new quarterback. First year for both of them. And they're just blowing everyone away. They're in the playoff picture right now.
They are.
They're not in the hunt.
They're not in the hunt, but they're in the picture.
They're in the picture right now. They beat out the. Let me put it to you this way: Bills, Bengals, not in the playoff picture. Houston Texans are in the playoff picture. I mean, they're in the hunt, but they're not in the playoff picture. They're in that top 7 teams. The Bills and Bengals are still in the hunt, but I don't. At the beginning of the year.
Oh, I never
nobody at all would have called.
I thought Houston was going to have another top 10 pick.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what I think most people thought. I mean, we knew that they had some pieces, but they also gave up some pieces. Our Browns gained one of the big pieces.
So,
who did he go to school for again? Tank Dell.
About Alabama A&M for 1 year, and then he transferred to Independence Community College.
He transferred to a community college?
Yeah, but he didn't get drafted from a community college. He went somewhere else.
No, he transferred to the community college after 1 season at A&M.
Huh.
No, I think he went to a bigger school after the community college.
52 receptions for
what round pick was he?
66 yards and 8 touchdowns. What round pick was it?
Yeah, where was he selected?
Yeah.
So we'll wrap up the Texans.
Yeah,
we got a lot of games to go through here.
Yes, we do.
Bengals, it's a tough loss.
It's a tough loss.
It was a good loss.
After last week, because they faced the Bucs last week.
Yeah.
Everyone, I know I thought this.
Third
round
pick.
The Bills last week.
He was a third round
pick. They faced the Texans faced the Bills.
Oh, you're talking the Texans.
Yeah,
I thought you meant the Bengals. My bad.
Yeah. Facing the Bucs.
Okay. Yeah, third round, 69th overall.
Everyone, I know I myself was saying that the Texans are an offensive team.
Yeah,
complete offensive team, no defense. Not no defense. I mean, they have defensive anchors. They have Stingley. They have Will Anderson Jr. They have good players, but everyone's expecting them to be a very offensive team, and here they are. Their defense getting 2 interceptions against Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
their defense holding it down.
Don't forget the 4 sacks.
And the 4 sacks.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! And the Bengals have spent the last 2 years building up their line.
Yeah, the Bengals to me in this game kind of. You start the season. You look at the Bengals. They start every season with that 1-3. I don't know what that team is.
It's a slow start. They have to get comfortable. Yeah,
and then they got to dog their way back out of it. They always do. It's amazing.
Yeah, they always do. They always do amazing in the late season.
This is a stink. This is a loss. It's either going to 1, pump them up to motivate them.
Absolutely, because
or 2, they're going to go. All right, we need to fix something.
We need to fix something, and you know what?
You can't fix it by trade deadline anymore.
And you know what? I think I have the solution for the Bengals. Fire your O-line coach.
Bold take.
Bold take. But now, listen to this. Their O-line coach, he's played on a few NFL teams. Each NFL team he played for, they had a bottom-tier offensive line rating every single year. And the year he left, that offensive line jumped up to the top 15, top 10. When you have someone like Kappa, Lyle Collins, Orlando Brown Jr., who just won a Super Bowl again for another time last year, and the Texans get 4 sacks against you, what that's telling me is that if anything needs to happen, you need to fire that O-line coach and bring in anybody else. And you know what? With those 3 guys alone, you should be able to give Burrow enough time to make plays happen where he doesn't need to throw 2 interceptions against a Texans secondary.
No, I mean, Joe Burrow, it wasn't his prettiest game. I mean, he threw for a lot of yards.
He did throw for 397 yards.
But at the end of the day, it's a loss that's going to sting.
It's a loss, but I think we should move on from them. I think the next game I want to talk about.
I'll see what you want to, because I got a big one that I just want to go over for 1 point.
Carolina and the Bears.
Yep, I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm glad I brought this up too.
I don't need to look at the stat sheet for the. You know what? Pull it up just.
Pull up these QB
Let me
stat
give you the
sheets.
rundown. Real quick.
Tell me how the QBs did in this game.
Bryce Young, 21 of 38, 185 yards.
Yep.
And he did get sacked 3 times. He rushed 3 times for 18 yards.
Okay.
I can never pronounce it right. Tyson Bagent, I think is the way you pronounce it.
Okay.
20 for 33, 162. Wow. And he also had 6 rushes for 12 yards. And let me ask you this question.
Wait.
Who was the first overall pick here?
I was about to say, you're telling me a first overall pick got the same amount of yards against a terrible Bears secondary as a Division II quarterback coming in for a hurt starting QB?
Yeah. Now,
what are the Panthers doing?
I want to be as open as possible about it. I don't think Bryce Young. I don't think he's a bust.
I also do not think Bryce Young's a bust.
Bryce Young
he's got a very bright future ahead of him. The team will develop around him.
You know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
How the Browns used to draft high QBs, throw them in the wrong system, and then they become they're not right. It's not fit.
Yep.
Bryce Young is in a terrible, terrible situation. When you're number 1 wide receiver, and not dogging Adam Thielen.
Okay.
But if you only have Adam Thielen to throw to,
yep,
it's unfortunate for him.
I have a take.
I mean,
I have a hot
running
take.
Back room, Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders.
I have a solution to the Panthers' problems.
Let's hear it.
You're not gonna like this.
All right, I'm ready for it.
Who has the top 3 picks in the NFL draft?
Well, you got the Bears.
You got the Bears.
And the Bears again.
Yeah, the Bears again.
And then you got, I think, the Cardinals. No, well, Cardinals.
The Cardinals.
Yeah, Cardinals.
Yep, I believe they're tied with the.
You got
Pats.
the Patriots.
The Patriots. Yeah. Hear me out on this one. They're gonna have the Panthers have a high 2nd round pick, I believe, right?
Yeah, they would have the number 2.
Number 2 pick.
No, number 1 currently.
Number 1? Okay.
Yeah.
Trade Brian Burns for minimum the first. You know you're going to go a lot more than the first with them. No, they didn't. They can still do this. Unless he's going into free agency. But they worked out their contract. You trade Brian Burns. Get at least the 1st or 2nd overall pick. You can get a lot more for Brian Burns than that.
Burns is draft 2 first guy.
2 first guy. Let's say you get the Bears 2 first.
All right, that's not 2 first level.
Okay, so
not that 2 first level. I'm talking like mid.
So you get the Cardinals top 3 pick, and then they have like around a number 20 because of the Texans because of the Will Anderson Jr. trade.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
All right, let's say you get those. If not a first for next year and another 2nd, right? 2 firsts and a 2nd for Brian Burns. You draft Marvin Harrison Jr. to give you depth at wide receiver.
But what if he's not there?
At number 2?
Well, they have the Bears. Bears own both those picks.
Then you go to the Bears. You do whatever you need to.
What are they going to do? They're going to trade the Bears again for 2 more picks? The Bears already gave them last year's pick to get 2 firsts. What are you going to do? Just keep handing the Bears first?
And you get Brian Burns out of it?
I don't think so.
Well, okay, let's say they do. Let's say they're able to draft Marvin Harrison Jr.
That's an insane theory, but all right.
It's what they need to do. They need to go get Marvin Harrison Jr. They need him. They need him. And then you take your second round pick, that top second round pick. You get Traven Henderson. You get Blake Corum. You get that running back out of OSU. I don't know if you saw that post I sent you the other day, but the running back from OSU
he's great.
Has almost identical stats to Derrick Henry.
Oh, no.
In his final season at Alabama.
He's, I think, a guy that should be definitely well looked at.
Absolutely. You go and get any three of them. Boom. There you have a new running back to replace Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, everyone was expecting a great year. And he's having the year
everyone thought Miles Sanders.
Because the Eagles will make any running back look amazing. Amazing.
The Eagles take people and chew
Though I do think DeAndre Swift is a very, I won't say elite because elite says top 10. But
I love DeAndre Swift.
I love DeAndre Swift. He is a lot better than Miles Sanders.
I have a point to bring up later in the Detroit game.
You go and get Marvin Harrison Jr. You use your second round for a running back. You revamp that offense.
That's a crazy theory.
And then you have cap space next year for free agency. Go and get another defensive key player. You lose Brian Burns, that's fine.
Honestly, the situation.
The Bears would absolutely take that deal because then you are absolutely stacked on defense. You have Montez Sweat, Brian Burns, Tremaine Edmonds. You have Eddie Jackson.
Now, here's what I thought would have been a great situation after seeing the Montez Sweat deal for the Bears.
Yep.
To me, why didn't the Panthers go to get Sweat? Sign him to the extension, trade away Burns, while you get the high return.
Yep. Well, you know what? The same thing could have been said about Chase Young. I think right now they do not have the cap space to do so.
Maybe.
Because of the Brian Burns deal. I think they're getting an extra $24 million for free agency and cap space after the year ends.
Okay. See,
so I didn't think fiscally they could, or else anyone would.
Yeah.
Anyone would.
I mean, and at the end of the day, to go over this game a little
absolutely.
bit. Can we stop getting these games in prime time?
Oh my God, it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad.
In the Broncos, we'll talk about later.
We'll talk about those.
But let's be honest here. What have we had for prime time this year?
Oh my God.
Now, granted, the Jets, they should have been really good, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers.
But we've had Jets, we've had Broncos, we've had Bears, we had the Panthers. Like,
when are we start?
I don't want that.
When can we get a good game? When can we get a Texans Jaguars game? Prime time.
See, that's the problem. And then
that would be an amazing next game.
Year, they're going to take the good teams. They're going to slot them in there. And then there's just going to be teams again that just aren't living up to expectations.
Absolutely not.
I get why you want Carolina to be in there.
Well, I think maybe the reason they're doing that is so NFL Sundays can be stacked with games where you glued the entire time on Sunday. Because if you got to admit, that Bears Carolina game, out of all the games over the weekend, you got to admit they're probably not going to get the most viewership.
No.
So it might be let's get this out of the way so we can get as much as we can on Sunday. But again, that's just a theory.
If I'm running prime football, I'd be contacting the NFL and be like, yo, guys, come on. You can't be doing this to us.
Hey, can we get a Niners-Eagles game on a Thursday?
Can I be honest with you? You want to know why I tune in to the Thursday night games? I normally tune in early to those games, by the way. Marshawn Lynch, he does a segment before the Thursday games. The one time he went to Amish country.
Yeah.
The next time he's running the pirate ship at the Buck Stadium.
Oh, so good. So good.
I love it. That's
Marshawn Lynch.
That's a great thing to tune into.
He's a national
and then the
treasure.
game starts and I go, wow, this is garbage.
How underwhelming for Marshawn to introduce you.
So to sum up this game, Bryce Young, he'll get there. Just, they need a lot of work. And I hope they get that to him next year. I really do. I hope
Bryce Young deserves a lot.
Yeah.
He deserves a lot more than he gets.
I don't like doing the CJ Stroud, Bryce Young thing that you hear about constantly because CJ Stroud went to the right system. They went to a team that is overachieving. No one had thought they would do that.
No,
he's shown that he's got that in him.
Yep.
But at the same time, Bryce Young's not out of this yet.
No, not out of it yet.
You know what? Long term.
I want to put this out there. Compare Bryce Young's start through his first few games to Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, yeah, it's not.
He has a better completion percent. He has more touchdowns to interception. He has a better ratio than those two. And he has more yards than those two. So this is not us slandering Bryce Young. This is us saying it'll take time. Because, again, he's on pace to do better than Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence. And look at where they're at right now.
Yeah. I think over time, it's going to settle.
Absolutely.
I think it's just one of those years. I think you see him come out next year. He makes another step forward. I think
as long as they give him what they need. If Carolina can go out and get Calvin Ridley, Mike Evans, T. Higgins, any one of those guys, or if they can't draft somebody, just give him the weapons he needs.
Just give him at least one.
Just give him something. If you can go out and draft Brock Bowers and get rid of Hunter Hurst, you know what? That'd be so much better. But
I think that's good enough.
I think that's good. I think I want to move on to the Chargers Lions.
Hold on. Let's get a couple just quick ones that I want to get out of the way. I don't really want to go in detail to them.
All right.
Let's talk about the Germany game. Started at 9:30 slot.
Yeah.
The Germany games, everyone's kind of iffy on. It starts real early. Cool concept. Great stadium.
Great stadium. Great atmosphere.
Take me home, country road scene.
Amazing. You know what? Those European fans, they know how to create an atmosphere at a gaming event.
Do I believe that the NFL should shift the division over there? I don't
think so. I think if they do, they have to. If anything, they have to create a plethora of new teams.
You would have to do 4 more teams over there.
You'd have to at least do 4 more teams. At that point, it's like, so there's going to be one more division in just the AFC, NFC.
Yeah, that's
add 2 teams to each. Well, at that point, why not go 8 teams? Make 2 new divisions for the NFC.
I mean, you're talking huge expansion.
A huge expansion, but if you're going to do it, you might as well go in. I mean, 1 team.
Yeah,
one team. Where's it even going to go? The AFC East?
That's the problem. You can't. It doesn't logistically make sense.
Logistically,
they'll find a way. Eventually.
And to make just one division for all right, we got 4 new teams in the AFC.
How do you divvy it up playoff wise?
That's all.
Make special.
So let's just it's a.
Well, we're talking about it in a few years because I'm sure they're going to bring it back up again.
Because you know what, you can then do give a team to Mexico, give a team to Canada, give a team to London, give a team to Germany.
I think you could do 2 in London, probably 2 in Germany. Germany has a strong fan base. You could go Mexico, you go Canada. You just got to find 2 more slots.
Let's say we want to do France or Spain.
I don't think there's a demand there.
You want to do Italy? You want to do Ireland?
I think they're going to try for
something. How about this? How about New Zealand? They got a big rugby culture there, and you know what? You got some amazing rugby players.
But let me throw this
Jason
out.
Malaya.
You do the 4. You do 2 London, 2 Germany, right?
Okay.
You do a Mexico, Canada.
Okay.
I think you're missing some teams that we could slot in the U.S.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
I think the U.S. has potential for 2 more teams. I don't have a pinpoint in my mind of where I would probably put them at this current moment.
I think I'd put one maybe, around the South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana type region.
It's a fan base,
I'd say Oklahoma and the Panhandle, but I don't know about that.
This is going to sound crazy. Texas always can take more.
Yeah, Texas can take a lot more. I mean,
this is going to sound crazy to me. Well, Louisiana's got the Saints already, New Orleans,
I guess.
There's a huge... It's an up-and-coming city, and I'm not trying to shout out Ohio because we already got 2 teams, but Columbus.
That's interesting. I honestly thought you were going to go with an Alabama or Georgia there.
Now, Alabama or Georgia could definitely use a team.
Or Mississippi. Some of the best players in the world come from those 3 states.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Yeah.
Or, it's tough because it doesn't always have the best fans turnout. You could go back to St. Louis again.
Jeez Louise.
Just something about St. Louis, man. They deserve a team to stay there.
I don't know about St. Louis.
Sucks.
There's a reason they left, and that
they left because
St. Louis is the same reason why I'm iffy on Oklahoma.
They got a lot of money though. That's why they left St. Louis. That was the whole NFL move, shift out west.
All right.
So enough of that.
Okay.
We can talk about that later.
Okay.
We got distracted by the Germany game there.
Yeah, the Germany game.
Colts, Patriots, real quick summary, I think, on that. Not much was to be expected.
No, not at all.
You got the Patriots who are just dying.
Honestly, I got to take on that too. Bill Belichick, it's not that he's being a bad coach. They're tanking for a QB.
They may be.
The last time the Patriots had this kind of record.
A lot of more confirmations throughout the week from different people. It seems like Belichick's probably done.
I don't think Belichick's done. I do think he went to everybody in the building. Same with Arthur Smith. I have the same theory about Arthur Smith and the Falcon. They're going out and they're being like, we're not going to do good this season. We need a QB. This draft is QB heavy, and there are a ton of elite QBs in this draft. and they need somebody. The last time the Patriots started like this was the season before they signed or had Tom Brady be their starter. They're doing this to make sure they can get their guy.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can see Bill Belichick doing his best to make sure he goes out and he gets Caleb Williams or he gets Michael Penix because they need something. All of a sudden, like what was it, like 5 years in a row? The Patriots have a top 5 defense, top 10 defense, and now all of a sudden they're floundering in the water for no reason.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, I'm leaning on to Belichick leaving. But we'll see how it goes.
I don't think he will.
They definitely are not going to be winning anymore.
I think if Belichick ever leaves, he's going to leave because he wants to go, not because the organization moves off from him.
I could see it. And then the Colts, what do you want to talk about? I mean, really,
Josh Downs.
Josh Downs,
that's a name you're going to hear a lot more in the future.
Has been cementing himself just furthermore into the underrated wide receiver category.
Absolutely.
To me. Jonathan Taylor came back. He's kind of good again. It's what we expected. I don't know if it's really that much of a shock. The shocking part of it all is Zach Moss is still a top 10 running back in the league, and the dude doesn't even start anymore. He's still in the top 10 for rushing yards.
Yeah, that is impressive. Zach Moss
and
really.
I want to know what they're going to do with him next year because I guarantee you they're going to do something.
Yeah.
And then you look at the rest of the team, and Gardner Minshew, he's there. He's playing. They're in the playoff picture, which is shocking to me.
It is.
But they play physical. That defense has stepped up.
That defense is quite good.
So I think they're going to be in the conversation point the rest of the year.
Yes.
But I just think at the end of the day, when Anthony Richardson comes back,
I think after week 17, I don't think the Colts will be in the playoff picture anymore.
Probably not.
But you know what? When Anthony Richardson comes back,
that team's going to be good next year.
That team's going to be good next year.
Next year. I think that this year they're riding a little above their line.
Yeah, they're just overperforming a little bit right now. But Gardner's been falling off every single week. But it is what it is.
2 more games, and then we can go back to the game you want to talk about.
Absolutely.
What was the one you wanted?
Lions-Chargers. I got a lot to say about the Chargers.
Let's go over Titans-Bucks. Another one of those games. Don't really know what people are expecting here, but it wasn't that pretty.
No, it wasn't.
Will Levis had his, what do you say? He had his homecoming.
Yep.
And the lust of, look what he can do.
Yep.
And he had his game, his little downturn game.
Yeah, what were his stats?
I can pull it up. I mean, and by no means is this dog and Will.
No, not at all. He was
threw 19, 39, 199, 1 interception. But you're facing the Bucks deep. It's a good deep.
They got a hell of a backfield.
And you look at the other side of the ball, you got Baker, 278, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. White did nothing rushing the ball, 20 rushes, 51 yards.
They need a running back.
White can be good he's a great receiving back.
Yeah, but they need somebody who can just shove it up the gut.
Mike Evans easily dropped that one ball in the end zone, I do believe. That was he's got the drops once in a while for those
touchdowns. He does. He can't. I'm not going to go into a whole thing about that because if you're as elite as Mike Evans, you're allowed to drop a ball every once in a while.
But Tennessee, you got to do something with that.
They're moving key pieces out for a reason. They are going into a full rebuild. It is what it is. Derrick Henry, he got absolutely shoved. He had less than 100 yards, right?
He had 24.
Oh, my God.
That's
so much worse than I thought it was.
24 and 8. They had 42 rushing yards.
I wouldn't be surprised if this offseason they moved him out for top draft capital. But even then, after the year he's having, people are like, all right.
They didn't trade him at the deadline. They said they don't want to get rid of him. It's one of those fans.
They're hoping they can make a huge splash in the offseason. I'm not sure what their cap space.
Get a wide receiver. I get you have D-Hop.
I was about to say, bro.
But besides D-Hop.
You need D-Hop. He's had a really great number of games this season. Not consistently, though. No. But, do you get another wide receiver? Do you go after O-linemen? Do you try and do another defensive moves? You got a lot to do, and it's not going to happen over one offseason.
No. I think next year,
D-Hop and Derrick Henry are going to be long gone before they eventually
I
try
think you got
the
2
playoffs
years
again.
minimum before they start making.
Yeah, every year for the past 2 years before this season, they were in top 5 for offensive stats, and this year they're in the bottom 5.
They're definitely.
You know what? It just shows me, especially moving key pieces out the way they have been. They're starting to pull a Broncos and be like, all right, we're going to stay competitive as we can, but we are in a full rebuild.
Yeah. So not much more to say about that.
Not much more to say.
Last game, and then we'll go to the Lions game. 49ers, Jaguars.
Oh my goodness.
Few things to go over.
The Nick Bosa, Chase Young combination is so deadly. You know what, everyone? When I saw that Cleveland was going from Minneapolis to the Jaguars, I thought, this is going to be a team that makes problems. This is going to be a team that's going to give the Niners a run for their money. When you give Trevor Lawrence protection and time in the pocket, he's going to make anyone look foolish. He's going to put up a fight. And for them to go out and absolutely embarrass the Jaguars the way they did, it was 3 points. They got 3 points, right? I saw
the meme from Step Brothers where it's him shoveling him in. He's like, I'm still down here. I'm still alive. Yeah, and that's the Jaguars.
Yeah, that's the Jaguars. But, one bad game. They're still a very good team. They're still in the hunt. But
they'll beat
my goodness, when you have play, I don't know how the Niners keep going out and basically playing Madden with people in the league.
Oh, it's crazy.
Getting a wide plethora of elite defense. What? The only front office I think is better is the Eagles. And you know what? When those teams meet in the NFC Conference Championship,
I think the 49ers have the edge on the front office.
After this point, they must, because there's not one level of their defense where you go, oh my God, they're really flailing there. They have a Pro Bowler, all-star at every single level of the ball.
And you look at the offense.
Oh my God, the offense is stacked just as much as the defense.
Christian McCaffrey, for the first time I can remember, didn't get a touchdown.
17 games. He had a full NFL season.
And then he comes out and he goes, yeah, it kind of sucked.
Everybody else got a touchdown. And it's like... Well,
wow, one bad game, you're leading in rushing, you're leading, the guy's elite.
It's just like the Mike Evans comment. As elite as he has been, you can have one bad game. Yeah. You can have one game without a touchdown. You can have one drop. It's fine.
I mean, you look at it, Brock Purdy came back, had a pretty good showing. I mean, you have the rush game, Debo's back. You got a fully healthy team again almost there. And they're going to go back to dominating like usual.
Yes, they are.
They are. I mean, there's not much more to say. Jaguars, I mean, it's a bad game. Just like the Bengals lost. Yeah. I mean, at least
when
Bengals
you're facing an elite defense like that, that's like facing Alabama back in the day, where it's just full of superstars, where if they start losing key pieces, franchises pick them up and they have cornerstone players.
Yeah, I think it's just a bad game.
I think if anyone faces the Niners at this point, it's going to be rough on them.
Yeah.
And again, I'm excited to see the Eagles and the Niners play in that NFC conference game.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's get down to the meat and potatoes. Let's get down to the Chargers-Lions. Now, I have been... The first podcast that we had, I was saying how we needed EB off the Commanders. I was saying how the Raiders and the Bears need EB. But I think at this point, the way the Chargers are playing, they're the ones that need EB the most. When you have Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen on your team with a great offensive line, and you're 4-5, like, granted, the Lions are one of the best teams in the NFC. They are. They are an elite team right now. They're playing fantastic football. But when you're going out there and you're just floundering, I mean, Rico, can you pull up the stats between Phillip Rivers in his first 3 years versus Justin Herbert? Can you tell me how they did?
All right.
So I'm going to give a take real quick on it. Just a brief. I thought the Lions were crazy this offseason. When I saw them get rid of Williams and Swift, their entire running back field.
Oh my God. Especially
for nothing, pretty much.
Yeah, and Williams setting the franchise, beating Barry Sanders for rushing touchdowns in a season, and you move on from them? Nobody's going to see that move and go, they know what they're doing. They're going to see that move and go, why? You had so much potential and you're ruining yourselves right now.
See, we were thinking, like everyone else, why would you change somebody that works so well?
Yeah.
They're playing chess.
They are. Oh my gosh. They're playing 3D chess right now.
Like, they said, all right, we can replace that with David Montgomery, who was fantastic. Yeah. Still is fantastic.
Especially since Jamal Williams had that injury this year. That was seen into the future.
Montgomery has been hurt a little bit. But then they drafted Gibbs.
And everyone was clowning on him because they didn't think Gibbs was that guy, especially with Bijan Robinson in the draft. But the way Gibbs has been playing lately.
And they started off the season with not playing him right.
You can see why the front office was cheering the way they did when they drafted Gibbs. You get those stats?
So in Phillip Rivers' first 3 years, he wasn't the starter for all the games. So the stats are kind of mismatched. Okay. So Justin Herbert has a lot better stats than Phillip Rivers in the first 3 years.
If I remember, Phillip Rivers was kind of trash for the first couple of years.
Yeah.
But when I compared Herbert's last 2 years and Phillip Rivers' last 2 years uninterrupted by Herbert, they're pretty much dead even.
Dead even. Yeah. So you're telling me
Phillip Rivers actually has like a point on Herbert in most categories.
Well,
so you're telling me that the Chargers are taking an elite quarterback like Justin Herbert.
You're wasting him.
You're wasting him. You're telling me that you have Justin Herbert for 3 years and you score the same amount of points as you allow on defense and you don't even give the guys a chance. You lose to the Raiders to get the playoff spot.
You don't have to tell me, dude. The Chargers.
This is crazy. So I'm saying when you have elite players on offense and defense, you got Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. That, let alone, besides Derwin James, when you have people like that, at that point it's, what players can we move in to make the team better? There are none. You go to your coaching and say, what are you doing? What have you been doing to us? You go out and you get EB. I've been praising EB this entire season. I've said we've needed him. You know what? But if you put EB in that system, Justin Herbert takes a leap you didn't even think was imaginable.
Justin Herbert can... The combo Justin Herbert and Eckler is such a great combo.
And Keenan Allen.
Mike Williams.
Especially for two guys who everyone thought wouldn't be good this year because of how old they're getting. They're aging like wine. The connection's never been stronger, and you're just sitting there, and you don't even... You're 4-5.
And I mean,
you're 4-5 in games you should be winning.
If I was them personally, I would have fired the head coach when we lost and blew the lead in the playoffs.
The 28-point lead blowing the playoffs.
It's a sign that it's not working.
Everyone looked at that and said, Doug Peterson and the Jaguars, there's something special. They're the reason they won. And it's like, yeah, no, they're fantastic team, fantastic head coaching. But when you look at that, you don't go, oh, the other team's just that good. You go, oh, our coaching is just that bad.
Yeah, the coaching is what kills them.
The coaching is what kills them and continues to hurt them. You need to go out and get someone new. And again, just like I said for the Raiders, I said it for the Browns, I said it for the Bears, EB is that guy. He needs to be a head coach in the league.
He deserves it.
He absolutely deserves it. And whatever team he's going to go to, they're going to jump a big portion of where they're at. And if he goes to the Chargers, you're looking at a team that will, until something bad happens, will consistently make a deep playoff run.
Yeah. I mean, and just,
EB is that man.
To add to some of the stats for this game, I mean, we're talking Justin Herbert, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 323 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Great. He also had 15 rushing yards, not that much, but it's there. You had Austin Eckler, 67 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yep.
Amazing offense. Yep. But then you got that defense. They took it and they let Detroit throw for 333, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Great game by Jared Goff.
Jared Goff, I got a point to make about him.
David Montgomery, 116 yards, 1 tutty. Jahmyr Gibbs, 77 yards, 2 tutties.
Yep.
They let them run all over them.
For what they did to the Jets the week before, embarrassing the Jets. The Jets have a pretty good O-line, too.
Yeah.
And they embarrassed them. And you go out and again, Lions are a top team in the NFC. They're probably the number 3 team in the NFC at the moment. You can make the argument they are the best team in the NFC.
Now,
because you know what, Jared Goff.
The biggest thing, though, in defense of the other teams is they look terrible against the Ravens.
Yep.
That Ravens game was a bad game.
And you know what? People can say, well, they got a bit of the Miami flu, and they can't perform against top opponents. That's just not true. That is just not true. When you have a defense that goes out and gets 7 sacks against a good Jets line, and you come out and you beat them after Justin Herbert those 4 touchdowns, you're just reading that and you go, I can't believe it. Honestly, it's an unbelievable performance, and I think that game in itself, even though he did not outplay Justin Herbert at the position, I think Jared Goff is every single game cements himself as a top 5 QB in the NFL. A top 5 QB in the NFL.
Whew.
Yeah. Hot take. But you know what? No one's slinging it better. No one. You're going to be hard pressed to honestly give me a reason why he shouldn't be in that conversation. And I know
I can't.
I know we're gonna get to top QBs later today, but I'm just gonna throw that out.
Are you talking for this season or in general?
This season.
Okay, because in general he's definitely not.
In general, no. When you have the people you do, but this season
he arguably has been up there in that category.
I will argue top 5 with anyone, any part of the day. Top 5 this season. Not in general in the NFL.
I was gonna say not
because the way he's playing is just lights out. When you're able to give Amon-Ra 6 games of 100+ yards, tying only AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill's behind.
No, they're good. I mean,
it's insane. Yeah. It's absolutely
and it goes
insane.
back to coaching. Dan Campbell's a great coach.
Dan Campbell is. A lot of people were questioning that when it first happened a few years ago. But my God, Dan Campbell.
Yeah, and he's fun.
What a man.
And he's fun.
Oh my God. I have nothing but love and respect for Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions at this point in the season. Honestly, at this point, Detroit is one of those teams that no one can root against.
Yeah, they actually just saw a stat line there, the 5th most bet to win the Super Bowl.
I know. They are just a love team, and every single week they go out there and prove why they deserve to be
I love watching it.
I love watching that as well.
Let's sum up a couple more quick ones before we deep dive into another big conversation. Packers-Steelers. We face them next week. Again, they did the classic Steelers. 1 possession game.
Neck and neck the entire time.
They never really pulled away. No. Kenny Pickett, I don't think he's that guy.
I don't think he's that guy, but you know what?
He's limping them to the playoffs.
You could make the argument about Matt Canada, but at this point it's like,
well, Matt Canada's still an issue. Matt Canada
is still an issue, and you know what? If you're a fan of football, you realize he's an issue, and that something needs to change on that offensive. If you're a Browns fan, like I am, you say, I hope Matt Canada stays for 10 years. But to me, Matt Canada is not what the system needs.
No, the big question mark with the Steelers offense, Najee and Jalen Warren's a good 1-2 punch. They're coming back a little bit now. They're scheming it better.
Yep, they are scheming it better now that Matt Canada spends time on the sidelines.
Deontay Johnson, George Pickens. And you get George Pickens more involved, but that's a great wide receiver.
A lot of, you know what? All these past 2 weeks, I've been seeing the AB and George Pickens.
Yeah, I've been seeing that. Yeah.
You know what? You know what I also saw this week? AB posted a video saying how Matt Canada needs to be fired and you need to bring someone in like Antonio Brown, who's offensive-minded. Antonio Brown threw in his hat to become the new offensive coordinator of the Steelers.
What's that last? How many games do you give that? 3, and then you have like a mental breakdown?
I don't think he gets past training camp.
And I think to sum this game up.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to say, is this you give it to the Steelers of being like you're always able to outwit and outplay your opponent and you're able to just play chess and move past, or are you going to put this in the category of, man, the Packers are flailing?
Oh, I think it's the Steelers just playing chess again. Okay. I think the Packers had a good, not a great game, just an all right game.
Yeah.
The Packers haven't been good this year. I mean, Jordan Love's been hit or miss. He has his games. The running game there is terrible. He doesn't really have wide receivers to really, give it to. Christian Watson hasn't been that great.
You know what? I have been seeing that a lot of people dogging Christian Watson.
I mean, it's just overall, I think in Green Bay, you got a lot of things. They're a young team, the youngest team in the NFL. Yeah. It's not that it's a bad year. I think it's what everyone should have expected. Anyone that thought Jordan Love was going to come out here and be Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers right off the bat is wrong.
And again, they have been spoiled because they have had Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers back to back. And you know what? Now it's just the point where it's like
you got to give it some time.
You got to give it some time. And you know what? Honestly, I think David Picardi. I'm sorry, he's not a drink. I can't pronounce his last name. I think he's moving after the season.
Possibly.
I think if Aaron Rodgers comes back and plays another 1 or 2 years, he goes to the Jets.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, I think honestly, there's a plethora of other places that happily accept him, like the Bears, the Giants. Any team that needs an offensive line, honestly, because he's an elite player and he doesn't want to be there anymore.
No. I mean, it's the Packers. I mean, they're...
And they're not going to draft a wide receiver with the first-round pick. They won't. So, you know what? They're probably going to draft an offensive lineman.
Probably. They won't draft wide receiver.
They won't. They'll probably use their third or fourth-round pick for a wide receiver.
That's what they always do.
Yep.
And to with the Steelers.
It's worked for him, but then again, they've had elite QB.
No, they had Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, they had elite QB play that makes anybody look amazing.
Yeah, and to go to the Steelers to wrap it up, I think at the end of the day, getting rid of Matt Canada, you give Kenny Pickett another year with a new offensive coordinator. That's the season you see if Kenny Pickett's the guy.
Yep.
You can't judge it based off this year. I know he's made a bunch of bad throws, but at the same time, some of his audible plays are what have won them games.
Yeah, he has done that thing where they're calling a play and he goes, "Oh, hey, the mic went out. I can't hear you. I'm just going to roll with what I want to."
And then it works. But there's a lot of not working.
Yeah, I did see a stat the other day where he has, 13 touchdowns to 13 interceptions.
Yeah, he's not
and
great.
his whole career.
He's not great. He's not.
But again, anybody can argue, oh, it's Matt Canada's fault. Well, okay.
So you give him next year with a new offensive coordinator.
Yep.
And you see what happens.
You
don't really have to do much around him.
Can't put Kenny Pickett out of it.
You could use a third wide receiver. Fryermuth's a good tight end when he's healthy.
Fryermuth is a very good tight end.
So you give him one more year with a new offensive coordinator, and that's when you decide if he's the guy or not.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, the sum of the game. Next week is going to be interesting.
Next week is going to be very interesting. Very defensive heavy. It's going to be a slugfest. Let's see if Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett can outdo Stefanski and
it's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough.
We'll go over to Saints-Vikings real quick.
Oh, the Pasternaut. So Josh
Dobbs, who I don't know how the man does it.
Talk about the greatest show on turf. Every week, he just gives a performance where you think they're down and out. And
when you started this season, if you would have picked a QB in the draft, did you think Joshua Dobbs was going to be? I think he's the second scoring QB in the league.
Did you think he'd be outperforming Patty Mahomes in fantasy this year?
And to be with 3 different teams in the same season.
Oh, goodness. What a man.
It's absolutely crazy to me.
You know what?
Good for him.
Good for him. For him to be able to come out with a win without ever practicing with them.
The Vikings are doing this without Justin Jefferson, who comes back supposedly next week.
And with no run game.
Yeah, the run game's it's an abomination.
It's an abomination so far.
Madison had one good game.
No, I did see a thing the other day where it was inevitable that the Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Achilles tear would be compared. And I did see that Aaron Rodgers tore his left Achilles and Kirk Cousins tore his right Achilles. And with both of them being right-handed passers, when you're passing, you have to generate power from that back foot. And both of that would be the right foot. So I think if Kirk Cousins comes back next year, he just won't be the same QB because after that injury, he won't be able to generate the same amount of power.
Oh, you never fully return to form after that. You're always going to be slightly less.
You might if you're Anthony Richards' age.
Yeah, but not when
you're 34.
But, at the end of the day with that team, to sum up the Vikings, you got work to do.
Absolutely.
Joshua Dobbs, there's starting to get headlines that Joshua Dobbs is their QB of the future. That's
just not where it is. That's not to take away from Josh Dobbs. Absolutely not. But he was drafted. He came into the league in 2013.
He's not a future QB.
No, he is. He's a present QB. Future QB is coming up in this draft.
Yeah.
I think I've said it before. I think the Vikings go after J.J. McCarthy.
I can see it.
I think that's about where it will land. I don't know how it's going to pan out. I don't see any of these QBs really going to the second round.
Now, flip the ball. Saints. It's rough.
Famous Jameis. You know what? He's actually Chris Olave with Famous Jameis has better stats than he did with Derek Carr.
Derek Carr is, first off, it goes to the Steelers, back to kind of that. Get rid of your offensive coordinator.
Yes.
Trash.
Yes. Again, when you have a top defense like the Saints, last time I checked, it was a week or two ago, they did have a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
They have lost 2 in a row since then, though.
Yeah. And then,
so I have to go look at it again.
You got Alvin Kamara.
But I think if you get a new offensive coordinator, then at that point you also have to go, well, we need to move on from Derek Carr.
I mean, you move on from Derek Carr, you get Famous Jameis.
I think you keep. I think Derek Carr will start for any team that needs a QB. He won't stay there, but I think Famous Jameis will stay and be a tremendous backup QB.
Oh, he's a great backup QB. I don't think he's a starter.
No, he's not a starter. I think Derek Carr.
He's that guy that you
like
put in.
Danny Dimes is out. I think if you put Derek Carr in that situation instead of Tommy DeVito,
well, yeah, I mean that's
a completely different story. But
I mean, at the end of the day, the Saints they're black.
Yeah,
they got a lot to do. Unfortunately for them, this year's not. I mean, they're still leading that division, which is crazy. They'll probably still make the playoffs.
I think the Bucs are going to take that from them.
The Bucs could, but the Bucs also they have their issues too. It's going to be a close one.
It's going to be close, but I think by the time Week 17 comes around, it's going to be cut and dry. The Bucs win. I think the Saints don't even lose the division. I think Carolina takes that from them too, but it doesn't matter.
It could possibly. So, next game on the agenda, because it's a quick one, because everyone kind of saw it coming, not much to talk about. You got the Cowboys-Giants. Giants.
I'm just shocked the Giants were able to score 17 on
the Giants are just trash.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah, again, just shocked they were able to score 17.
So, I mean, there's not much.
You know what I'm shocked about? Micah Parsons, it's not that he didn't do much. It's that, they score 49-17. And you don't see a crazy stat line from Micah.
No, I mean, it really wasn't like a crazy
everyone has them in the top 3 conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. Everyone has them either winning or being right there. And then you have a chance to humiliate a divisional opponent. I mean, you did offensively, but, versus those Giants, you really had an opportunity to show why you should be in that conversation. And you really don't hear anything about Micah. That's what shocks me. I mean, again, Micah, elite player who'll make any team look foolish, but you had the chance.
Yeah.
If any team was the team besides the Cardinals, it was the Giants, and you just don't hear anything.
Yeah. No, I mean it was a pretty crappy game.
I just don't know what to think about.
We all knew what was going to happen. I mean, Prescott's doing his Prescott thing, he's throwing touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb's looking pretty good now. Pollard, not the guy I think a lot of people expect him to be this year.
Yep.
Other than that, I don't have much to say about that game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what I thought would happen. I mean, I wasn't expecting them to score 17, but good for the Cowboys putting a whooping on the team.
Absolutely.
Another kind of quick one to me, just because they're two teams that are kind of lost right now. Falcons, Cardinals.
Kyler came back. They won.
Yep.
He was able to put the team together. It's exactly what they needed. After seeing Kyler come back, the conversation moved from, the Cardinals are drafting a QB this year to, they're probably going to go for Marvin Harrison. They're probably going to go
I think Kyler's staying.
I think Kyler's staying. I think it'd be foolish if he left.
Yeah, and I think honestly, to go for the Cardinals, I think you got a lot of work to do. Obviously, it's going to take some time, but you got a good quarterback, not a great quarterback, but you got a quarterback that can win you games.
Absolutely.
And to go to the Falcons, you got some pieces there. You got Drake London.
I'm going to say the same thing I said about Bill Belichick. I think Arthur Smith went out at the beginning of the season and said, listen, Desmond's not going to work. Tyler Heineke's not going to work for the future. You have Drake London. You have Kyle Pitts. You have Bijan. You have everything you need. You have a top 10 line in the NFL. You have everything you need to be one of the greatest offenses on the field. I think they're intentionally going out, as intentionally as you can be in the NFL without making it horrendously obvious.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to get in the best position they can to get a QB in this draft.
I don't
because when you're not using Bijan, one of the best running back prospects in history, and you're not using him on any significant play, but you have him returning punts.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. I think they're definitely not using him right.
With Taylor Heineke, Kyle Pitts has been getting a lot used a lot more. His stats are going up, but at the end of the day, when you have someone like Kyle Pitts, who's a future Travis Kelce, who can be an Antonio Gates, and you're just not utilizing him with a contract coming up next year, it's at that point that you go, oh, well, that was nice while it happened. We're probably going to move on and do something else. You go, no. They're doing this because Arthur Smith is like, hey, I'm going to give you a max contract extension. I'm going to make sure you're here. We're going to go out and get the best possible QB available, and we're going to make everyone on there Pro Bowlers.
Yeah, next year is going to be a big year for them.
Absolutely. Next year is going to be very shocking. If they don't do their best to go out and get the best QB in the draft, then honestly, I'll drop my jaw because it's like,
What else could you? I mean,
are you going to draft? I was about to say, are you going to draft a defensive player over a QB?
No, you need a QB.
And if they do, honestly, I'll throw my papers in the air and I'll contemplate life for a little bit. Because again, what are we doing, Falcons?
What are we doing this year? They're doing it on purpose.
You have everything you need to be elite, and you're just flailing.
So 3 more games.
Okay.
We'll go with the quickest one to me. Commanders Seahawks.
You know what? Shocked that the Seahawks won. Again off the field goal, but you know that's what happened a lot this season. I remember last season Kansas City was doing it a lot. We were, especially in the Super Bowl, and we were like, just play the game. But you know, if you're gonna go out there and win games,
you're gonna win.
Win it, yeah, you're gonna win. And you know, I'm just shocked that the Commanders didn't put up more numbers. Being how Sam Howell's just been spectacular.
Yeah, Sam Howell has
blown everything out of proportion.
Kind of the amazing story of the year. I mean, obviously, you got C.J. Stroud. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but Sam Howell has come in,
especially with the problems he had.
Oh yeah, and everyone questioned whether or not he was a QB to stick around. Yep. And you just can't argue with it. He's leading the league in passing yards. He's got a good touchdown.
Yep.
And you know
he's leading the league with being sacked the most times out of anybody.
I mean, he's been sacked like 47 times.
Yeah, and
he's got Scary Terry to throw to. Jahan Dotson started off slow. He's got him. You got Brian Robinson, who I think is an underrated running back in the league. I love Brian Robinson.
He was lighting up fantasy boards.
So I honestly, I think the Commanders next year are going to come out and be a great team.
They are going to be a great team. I think with free agency coming up, you're doing your best. You're not signing guys back on the defensive side of the ball. Understandable. You go out and they either sign someone to your O-line or you draft somebody. But if you have somebody who can lead the league in passing with getting sacked the most, that tells you have somebody, if you give them more time, they're just going to be even better.
Yeah.
And you know what? The best thing you can do is give someone like Sam Howell more time.
Yeah. Sam Howell, I think, can be a guy that sticks around.
He absolutely can be a guy. Washington's been searching for a guy ever since RG3. Have not been able to make anything stick, but I think with Sam Howell performing the way he is this year, the best thing you can do is just make sure he gets to showcase even more.
Yeah.
But like again, it's crazy to me how he's been sacked so many times and he's leading. If you bring in someone elite,
and you take out the games where he threw 3 interceptions, like his touchdown to interception ratio wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
He has games where he just is off.
Yes, that is true.
He could have a great TD to interception ratio.
Yeah, but I know some of those have been while he's getting pressured or sacked.
Oh, yeah.
He's thrown it and they've gotten intercepted. But you know what? Take those away, the ratio would be better. You know, I said David from the offensive tackle from Green Bay, if he's going to move anywhere and doesn't go to the Jets, I think he'd be absolutely stellar on the Commanders team. I think he'd be just exactly what they need if they don't draft somebody. And if they're able to just beef it up.
Now, their big bust of the season, let's be honest, is that cornerback they drafted. That guy's been terrible. I forget his name.
I don't even know his name.
He's not been good. He's like the worst rated rookie cornerback in the league. And it's been a damn shame.
It's been an absolute shame. You know what?
So, and to flip it, you go to Seattle. You know, Seattle got stomped by the Ravens.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a common theme.
It's a common theme. I mean, we got stomped by the Ravens earlier this year, too.
Yeah.
You know what?
It's a common theme with the Ravens. When they're hot, they're hot. And the thing is, Geno came back. He put up a good performance.
Yes,
2 touchdowns, 369, you know. Yeah. Kenneth Walker's there. He's a great rusher. Can't catch the ball, but great rusher.
Yeah.
He did catch the ball this game, though. 1 reception, 64 yards, 1 tutty.
Oh,
I mean, it was an important catch.
It was a very
DK finally came alive. Lockett came alive. I mean, you're looking at it.
Smith has been getting a lot more action every single week.
Yeah.
Not by leaps and bounds, but slowly he's been getting used more and more.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're working their way. They're not bad. They're a good team, but you know, I think they're just one of those first round exits.
Yeah, most likely they are going to be, especially with the Niners in your conference.
I do want to see Bobo get more action, just because I like the name Bobo.
Oh, absolutely.
Just highlight reels of
I think
Jake Bobo. You know, like I don't know, it'd be fun.
It would be fun. I think going back to the CFL.
Bobo would be fun. And Bobo with the touchdown, you know.
Like that Bigfoot hunting show back in the day.
Like, I think it'd be an entertaining touchdown call when you hear the announcer screaming Bobo on the microphone.
Yeah, just ho ho Bobo with the touchdown. Exactly. But real quick, going back to the Seahawks, Geno Smith has 2 more years on that contract. I can see the Seahawks trying to get a QB either this draft or next draft to do something with, and keeping Geno to help mentor him. But I think Geno has it in him to at least make it through a bit more.
Yeah. And to go along to the next game, we got 2 more. I don't have much to say about the Jets-Raiders besides I'm just disappointed in the Jets.
Yeah. I saw a stat the other day where Russell Wilson has thrown 953 passes, I think it was, and he has 20 touchdowns. That's a 2.1% touchdown ratio on passes. It's the worst in the league. Absolutely worst in the league. And you know what? You could make the argument. Oh, the Raiders, they have Max Crosby. They're hurrying him up. Oh, they just faced the Chargers. The Chargers sacked him 7 times. He didn't have any time to throw the ball. Well, the Chargers just lost to the Lions, and I think that defense would stifle the Lions.
Okay.
And it's a Zach Wilson. This isn't a shocking take.
No.
That's a Zach Wilson problem.
Zach Wilson's not.
Zach Wilson's not that dude.
They're praying that Aaron Rodgers comes back in December.
I think
whatever drugs he's on over there, hallucinogenics is apparently working, getting that freaking ankle.
I just saw a video the other day when he was at the game. He had a box.
Yeah,
he dropped the box and a bong fell out of the box.
So
it's working. He's walking. No boot.
At the end of the day,
I think
this game is just sad.
It is sad. It's very sad.
The Jets, to me, you got that defense, great. Garrett Wilson's being wasted. Breece Hall. I saw a video earlier, which I kind of agree with. Breece Hall, everyone's, saying how DeMar Hamlin's going to be the comeback player of the year. It's a feel-good story. I get it, but he's not a starter.
I have 2 other candidates besides
Breece Hall, to me.
I think Josh Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs, yeah, but
or Kyler, probably not.
No, not Kyler. But you look at Breece Hall. I think by the end of the year, Breece Hall is a top 10 rusher.
People forget for how good he's looking this year. People forget that he was out last year.
Yeah, I think Breece Hall is by far a great candidate for that.
Absolutely.
As far as the Raiders go, you just do something. Yeah, you're winning now, but at the end of the day, you're getting.
Did you really think Jimmy G was going to work out?
Yeah, AJ, what's his name, O'Connell or whatever?
Aiden O'Connell.
Aiden O'Connell. Sorry, he's there. He's a QB. I don't know if he's a QB of the future.
He's definitely not.
You got Josh
able
Jacobs.
To give Devontae Adams the production he needs.
But Devontae Adams likes him more, I can tell you that.
Oh, he definitely does. But I saw during that game, Devontae Adams was just getting frustrated.
So, at the end of the day, this game was another just lad of a game.
Yep.
It was just a primetime game, but again, no one really wanted to see.
What? After moving on from their offensive coordinator, GM, and head coach, they won 2
look
straight.
Way better.
Yeah, they look way better.
They won
2 straight right after that. But again, a lot needs to be done.
Yeah.
A lot needs to be done. You're in better shape than other teams, don't get me wrong. But again, it was a very meh.
Yeah. And finally,
the Monday night game.
At least the Monday night game.
Broncos-Bills.
Which I talked about earlier, that I think that the Buffalo Bills are one of the most overrated.
Absolutely overrated.
I know they just fired Dorsey, their offensive coordinator.
Yep.
So in their mind that it's setting in.
Something.
It's not working, and they need to figure out. Josh Allen, a lot of people are talking about Josh Allen here. And a lot of people are saying that he's not the guy that everyone thought he was going to be. I think he's still a great quarterback.
He's absolutely a great quarterback.
And he puts a lot on his legs, too.
Yeah, he does love, again, like Deshaun Watson, loves playing that hero ball and running it when he can. But when you're leading the league in interceptions, but it was Dorsey, it was the offensive coordinator. Well, when you're on the field and you're making the decisions.
Let's not forget they gave up 24 points to the Broncos, which the Broncos have.
I'm gonna say this again. Russ is underrated.
Oh, he is.
Russ has been leading the league, not leading the league. He's been top 10 in the league for a lot of stats. It just doesn't show because, the team around him isn't that great.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
And who else is a mess now? Buffalo.
The Buffalo. Oh my goodness! I know they're hunting for a linebacker this.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Buffalo and you look at this game,
you're gonna give up that many points to the Broncos.
How do you give up a 12-man on the? You have one job at the end of the game, and I don't know if you caught the end of that game.
I did not catch you.
So at the end of that game-winning field goal, you have one job. Make sure you don't have 12 men on the field.
Yep.
And they did it. They missed the first kick to win the game.
Yep.
And then the 12 man on the field, 5 yards closer, they get the game-winning field goal.
Yep.
So the Broncos got handed the game a little bit.
They did get handed the game, but but when you're talking about the Bills, it shouldn't be Broncos got handed the game. The conversation would be like, why was this even close in the first place? The Broncos wanted to move on from all their key pieces to start a rebuild, and they come out and beat the Bills, when people have and their top teams to go all the way for this entire year and season.
Denver's 4-6.
Now Devin, and you know what? Bills on another loss. Bills are going to come alive late in the season. Do they?
I don't.
They have all the pieces too. They have Josh. They have Stephon.
I think it's a wash of a year
too. It's just so shocking that
they'll still be
such
in the
a high
playoffs
hopes, but it's just so tough on them.
Yeah, I mean, I think
they're not even leading the division.
I think you look at this team. The only reason James Cook had 109 yards is because for some reason Dorsey must have knew he was on his way out.
Yep.
And goes out and does all rushes for that.
He just wants to play safe.
Game-winning drive.
But to be fair, Josh Allen would have had another pick if that guy didn't step out of bounds with the interception.
No, it's super. They got to figure it out.
Ever since they lost Dable, it's just been floundering. And you know what? It's just who knew? Who knew it was Dable? That was the reason they were able to be so successful.
I hope they're able to fix it because they are an entertaining team to see in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So I hope
when they face the Bengals or the Chiefs in the playoffs, you know you're in for an instant classic. But the way they're looking now, it's just you can tell that it's just not going to go their way.
No. And to the Broncos standpoint, to sum up that, you won. Congratulations.
Hey, you
got a little lucky. You got a lot to do still, so don't get ahead of yourself.
Absolutely, you're still in a rebuild.
I think Russ.
But you know what?
Is showing that he can't be that guy though.
Big win.
I think Russ is showing the form that everyone wanted him to be.
Absolutely.
I think the biggest thing with this, Russ kind of went back to his days of he got some rushing in when he needed it.
Yep.
He didn't throw a pick. He threw 2 touchdowns, not a lot of yards. That's what Russ does.
Yep.
He's not meant to be that guy that gives you 6 touchdowns and
he's able to extend plays and make sure the offense is alive the entire time and gives them a fighting chance.
And then you build a defense around them.
Absolutely.
So I think that sums up pretty much that game to me.
I think it does too. I guess there's only one thing to end it on, and that's Broncos country. Let's ride.
You had to.
I had to. After a win against the Bills, you got to.
So, to end this segment of the podcast, let's just quickly go over Week 11.
Okay.
We'll drop our wins, who's winning, who's, not going to win.
All right. What do we got slated?
So, let's start. I think this is the biggest week for the AFC North.
I think it is. I think this is a division.
Week.
I think this is a division-defining week for the AFC.
Yeah, you got the Ravens versus the Bengals.
If the Ravens lose and the Browns win, that shakes it up a lot.
So you look at this. To me, the Ravens win this game.
Ravens, I think they win this game too for how they look. For how the Bengals
I think Joey Burrow puts up a good fight.
I think that defense,
but that run game's gonna be locked down. Joe Mixon's not running.
No.
So I think at the end of the day,
who knows?
Maybe,
we were able to gain almost 200 yards.
You're not wrong. I think the Ravens win this game. If they don't, then there's a question mark around the Ravens. Yep. If the Bengals lose, I think that's I think they can still put up a good fight.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think it's going to be tough
again. You never count out the Bengals, but I mean, just like the Bills, they're wishy-washy this year. They're just you never know.
Yeah, and
you just never know.
To move over to the other AFC North game, you got Steelers Browns.
As a Browns fan, you always pick the Browns, especially if Deshaun can come out and play the whole game like he did that second half versus the Ravens. But again, they're 2 very elite defenses going at them.
And
I think
the Browns don't play well against the Steelers.
No, we don't. We never do. So I think this is more of a game where you say, all right, which defense can do more to the offense and which offense can hold on the longest to give themselves a chance. And you know what? When you're looking, I mean, we already lost once, but again, going through heartbreak, that was a tough game. Everyone was shaken up because Chubb went out. When you're looking at it, you got to go. They have the number one defense in the NFL. Again, if Deshaun can come out there and just play like he did during that second half, play smart ball, I think it'll mean a lot. I think if we get DeJuan Jones back, also a game changer. Again, the Ravens have a tougher defense.
Yep.
So theoretically, the Browns should win. But again, that you can never count the Steelers out because of how they've been able to win every single game this year.
Yeah. My take on it, I think the Browns will win. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a lot closer than some people would think. If they think this is going to be a blowout, it's definitely not going to be a blowout.
Okay.
The Browns, I think, will squeak by.
Okay.
The reason why I think this is a huge staple win for the Browns, to show they can get above the Steelers, because we never can get past that Steelers cliche.
No.
And I think the thing is, with it, if the Browns win this game, I think that cements us for the playoffs at least.
I think it will too, because then we'll move to 3-2 for divisional wins on the year.
Division wins are going to come in big this year.
They absolutely will. Then we'll just have the Bengals one more time, and if we can win that, go to 4-2 instead of 500. So that would be very big for us.
I think the Browns squeak by on this one. I think it's going to be...
I think Dustin Hopkins will definitely be a game changer. I think the kicking is going to be a very important factor this game.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be an offensive shootout where you see touchdowns 24/7.
We said that with the Ravens.
I think it'll be like each quarter... Yeah, between the two teams, it's 5 to 6.
I give it my ideal score to me is going to be like 21-17, somewhere around there.
I'm thinking about like a 17-14 or 24-21.
Yeah,
or maybe a 24-17.
Yeah, I like
situation.
That. And then to move on, you got Raiders, Dolphins. I don't think there's the conversation here.
Unless Max Crosby absolutely
goes
off. Because, you know what, the Raiders just don't have the secondary for the Dolphins. So that's
Dolphins is a win. Lions, Bears, same thing. Love the
Lions.
Justin Fields is coming back, but that's not going to mean the Bears.
That doesn't mean your secondary for the Bears.
Lions are winning tonight.
Lions win it.
Titans, Jaguars.
Jags all day.
Yeah, I mean, I know they had that bad week.
Jaguars still have a top rushing defense. So, you might not hold Derrick Henry to 24 yards, but who knows?
Yeah, I think that's an easy Jags.
Yeah.
Chargers, Packers. As much as the Chargers have been rough right now, I still think the Chargers.
Yeah.
Cardinals, Texans.
That's a Texans. Unless Kyler Murray comes back and shows why he deserves to
Until CJ Stroud shows me a bad game, I'm going Texans. I'm riding that Texans. Cowboys, Panthers. It's back-to-back weeks for the Cowboys. You should have an easy win.
For the
if you
Cowboys,
lose that game, something's
wild.
We got the Giants, Commanders.
Commanders. You know what? The
49ers, Buccaneers. 49ers are just
49ers with that elite defense. They won't allow Baker to do much.
Yeah, and then you got Jets, Bills. I still think Bills win this. If you got Zach Wilson starting.
I think the first game of the year was, I won't say a fluke, but like if you don't beat the Jets, at least once in a year, you really got to look at yourself and go, this is...
What do we need?
Yeah, we need to look at everything again.
Seahawks, Rams. I believe Matthew Stafford will be back.
I believe so, but I'm still giving it to the Seahawks.
If Stafford's back, I have a little leaning on the Rams.
Yeah. You know what? All I'm thinking about is that Seahawks secondary.
Yeah, that's true. But
I don't know if Jamal Adams will be back. So
I mean, you got Puka, who really wants some more receiving yards.
Yes,
he's been lackluster lately.
They're coming off a bye week too, so they're well rested. So you never know.
Vikings, Broncos. I'm gonna go Broncos.
You know what? I think I'll go with the Vikings on this one.
I mean,
I think Josh Jacobs is smart enough to make the adaptations in game that they need to succeed.
I think that Russ wants to ride. He wants to continue going.
Yeah,
he's showing that he's not that.
With how close the
a QB,
with how close the AFC West is, Raiders leading it. In second place, of course, Chiefs are always in first.
Yeah.
I could easily see them taking a stretch and becoming the number 2 seed in the AFC West.
Yeah, and then you got Eagles, Chiefs.
Woo!
And I'm gonna call it now.
I think I'm gonna go with the Eagles.
I love my Eagles. I really do. but I think the Chiefs have been getting too much talked against them, and that's the NFL's baby.
It is the NFL's baby, but you know what?
I think Patty Mahomes is coming out this week with vengeance.
I think I have one reason why the Chiefs might have issues against the Eagles.
I'm listening.
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter's been great.
With the addition of Jalen Carter, that front line is so aggressively good that even though the Eagles have a lackluster secondary is what I've been hearing, but you still have James Bradbury. You have Bard?
Yeah, well, they just got that one guy
from Titans. I think that's his last name. You know what? With additions like that, I think when you have people like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, pressuring Mahomes, I think that will give enough time to people like James Bradbury and Darius Slay to go out and make the plays they have. Where if they didn't have that key defensive line, then you have the debate of, well, the Mahomes could definitely pick apart that secondary, but with that D line, and I think that D line gives the secondary more time to make the big plays. I think, and you know what, that Eagles offensive line, Chris Jones can't do everything for him, and when you're going against the best line in the NFL, when you're going against Jason Kels, when you're going against Malaya and Dickerson, you can't. Chris Jones can't do everything.
I see your points. I just personally think that the Chiefs have been too mediocre, and they're bound to have a big game.
I don't think it'll be against
bigger stage Monday night.
I think this is the Eagles' revenge game.
I would love to see it. I love the Eagles.
Yeah,
I love Jalen Hurts. I love the Eagles team. It's a fun team to watch. The only reason I'm saying this is Patty Mahomes has not been, the elite, the top NFL QB this year. Mm-hmm. And I think he's going to come out with vengeance.
I think he's going to come out with vengeance, but the chip that the Eagles have on their shoulder.
Travis Kelce's going to have a big game because I bet you Taylor Swift is there on a Monday night. And you know what that means?
Oh, yeah. The Swift curse.
Means? The Swift curse.
You know what? I'm going to raise you a Swift and give you a Swift. DeAndre Swift.
Big game for him?
Big game for him. Are you kidding me? You might have a Swift, but we got a Swift that's just as good.
I'll be happy to see it. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely. All right. What else we got?
I think that's it. That's the end of our wrap up. All right. So I think we'll call it there for this, and then we'll probably make a separate video for the top 5, top 10 things.
Sounds good.
So
all right. I really appreciate the time. Thank you for having me again.
Rigo, Stat Guy.
Thank you so much for your help today, buddy.
You should make that a parlay. Your prediction for who's going to win.
Oh, you want me to put money on Swift and the Eagles?
Oh, you're putting
no, the whole parlay for who you called out for the week.
Ooh, you know what?
We might do that because you guys disagreed on a couple.
We could do that. Yeah,
we could do that.
We'll put a little parlay action.
Yeah, we'll let you know how it goes next week based off our picks.
I hope that I win because I really.
I think money. I know. I think
I just want money.
That's I do. Really money would be nice.
Money would be really great.
I like when the heat is on during the winter. $3,000.
I have
on the butt.
Wow. You went 3. I was gonna put I got 3 cents.
Yeah.
I'll put my 2 cents into it. How about that?
I like that.
All right. Well, till next time.
Till next week.